just recapping the Utah game, I thought offensively we played really, really well, except for, 2 series. We had 2 3-and-outs. I think as you go back and you study it and you second guess yourself and everything that you do, everything that we called had been called previously and been successful. We had an incomplete pass on second down and a run. The second series on second down that went for no yards, that went for about 50 last year and turned the game around last year. And we got in 2 third downs and got sacked once and threw a completion for a yard short. So as I go back and look at those calls, I wouldn't have changed one thing. We didn't make the first down. We didn't finish it. And I think at that point was the turning point with the onside kick, and credit goes to Utah. They executed it perfectly. Heck of a kick by the kid. And obviously recovery, and they had 2 big plays on us on that. Proud of the way the defense played. Didn't get off to a good start. Had a couple breakdowns in coverages right out of the gate, kind of unlike us, but I thought we settled down, and I thought they played very, very solid. And then I tell you what's impressive is 1st and goal inside the 1. There's 3 straight stops at the very end of the game, and you say all you want about the heat and humidity and all that, but our guys bowed up at the end, and when it counted at the very end, they had it, and I was proud of them from that standpoint. Close game like we all thought it was going to be, and they made a couple more plays. Credit to them, very good team, and they made a couple more than us, and our kids made a lot of plays. There's a lot of fight in our kids. I think we got kids that are very talented, and I think as we've had the weekend to reflect, you come out and we'll learn from a few things. I think we'll gain confidence from a few things, and we look forward to going to the Mountain West and starting this game against Air Force. As I look at Air Force, I played against them quite a bit as an assistant at the Naval Academy, quite a bit at New Mexico. When we were in the Mountain West, when I was at New Mexico. And the first thing I can say about them, as always, Troy will have them ready to play. Coach Calhoun and his staff do a great job. It's a staff with a lot of continuity. It's a staff with a lot of experience. They do what they do, and they do it well. I think they know who they are, and I expect a hard-nosed game. They're very disciplined. They're very tough, and they don't get out of position a whole lot. They're very schematically, I think they're sound on both sides of the ball. Always impressed. It's always a tough place to play, Colorado Springs. But on our side, I know our kids are looking forward to it. It's a Mountain West opener. They will be we'll be juiced up, we'll be energized, and we look forward as a challenge to go on the road and playing our first Mountain West game. So opening up from there.
How much does playing a Thursday game last week give you a little leg up on preparation for Air Force?
A little bit in preparation from maybe a Sunday standpoint, but they played on Saturday, so not a whole lot after you see a game, because basically we traded tape at the same time on Sunday. So, but I mean, we've had their tape all spring and all summer. So I tell you where it really helps us, Craig, is it helps us just physically, as an emotional game, from a physical standpoint, emotional standpoint, and we're just kind of able to catch our breath a little bit and heal up a little bit. And so I think it's probably going to help us out a little bit more physically than anything.
When you look at the running backs, Hart and Lee both go over 100, couple touchdowns each. What do you see from them, and what do you like about those two?
Well, those 2 kids did it last year too. All you got to do is flip on the tape, and those guys are explosive. If they catch the safeties, losing eye control, it's going to be 6 real quick. And I've seen it. I've seen it happen coaching against them year after year. You got to have really, really, really good eye discipline in the back end, and they got to know what their keys are. And if not, those guys will slip right by you and it'll be a touchdown. But
will you prepare for 2 quarterbacks considering the injury they had, or just focus on one of them?
I think we will look at both of them. So get ready for both of them.
Still, whatever their quarterback does, even whoever it is probably the same, isn't it, kind of with how they run things?
Yeah,
Would you agree? I mean, maybe one guy maybe throws a little better, but I mean, that's not, they want to run first, don't they?
I think they're always that way. I think Janelle, excuse me, throws it a little bit better. But we'll see. They're going to stick to their system. They're going to do what they do. They're going to run their option, their double option, their belly G. They're going to get in some traditional sets and run inside zone, and they're going to throw play passes off of it, and they're going to play with tempo and some pace. And I've seen yourself look up and have 2 series in a quarter before. I've been on that side of the sidelines too. So got to get stops on defense. I think the biggest thing we have to do is you have to contain those 2 slots we just talked about. But first and foremost, you better stop the fullback. So
What's the atmosphere like over there with all the cadets in
it's
the
good.
stand?
Yeah, it's neat. I think it's a neat atmosphere. It'll be an afternoon kickoff, so it'll be great weather, and expect a full house, and I'm sure it'll be an energized game because it's a Mountain West game.
What does it mean to you as an alum to be on the precipice of your first Mountain West game, and what does this conference shift kind of mean now that it's kind of immediate?
Well, it's first and foremost, it's the goal in this program to play for and compete for the Mountain West Championship, and so this is step 1. And to be able to accomplish that goal, just like last year, you have to win conference games on the road. And it just so happens our first conference game is on the road, so I think there's an immediacy to it. I think there's an importance to it, and our kids know it, and we'll look forward to that.
What does Air Force look like defensively?
Like they always do, tough, hard-nosed, aggressive. They'll pressure in certain situations, and both DNs are back from last year, and they're aggressive, they're active, and so I think they're always a tough, blue-collar, hard-nosed bunch that's well coached.
Give us an idea as a coach of how they do it with 250, 60-pound guys, or everybody else is doing it nowadays with 320-pound offensive linemen and 300, almost 300-pound deep. How do they accomplish what they do against bigger teams?
Because I think what they do schematically gives them a chance. I think they know who they are. They slant and angle on defense. They pressure. They move around. I think they're smart with what they do. Up front with those guys, I think they're very sound in the back end, and they don't put themselves in a position to really get out-leveraged or any of those things. But they've always been successful. I think first of all, it starts with knowing who you are, and they know who they are. And Coach Calhoun and that staff, like I said before, they've been there a long time. They know who they are. They do a great job of that, and they give their kids a chance to win.
Back to the Utah game, just on the big plays, was there 1 or 2 things that stood out on those big plays where they got? Was there somebody that just didn't do their job? Is it a combination of things that hurt us? What?
Defensively, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we just had a couple, and we lost eye control one time with a guy, and then one guy was out of position, and you do that, and you're playing against a really good team, you're going to get exposed. I think we did some of that on our side of the ball too, like I said, I think once our guys settled down a little bit after those first couple of series, they played really, really good.
And I asked Jake
about
it seemed that you guys defensively in the second quarter started to really get some pressures, and the pressures really started to make a difference there. In the second half, did they change some things to take you out of that stuff? Because it didn't seem like that hurt them as much defensively. I mean, it did the first time they had the ball, but then you kind of just slowed them down. After that, they could run it a little bit better, things like that.
Yeah, we got some pressure on him in the third quarter, and a certain couple times. I mean, the ball was out the one time, and seemed like it laid on the turf for about half a day. But I don't really think so, Al. It just, maybe we got more pressure on him earlier in the game, but
There wasn't you didn't consciously feel an adjustment or how they played you differently
No.
in the second half or
No.
anything.
This offense is so unlike any offense you're going to see this year. Can you talk a little bit about the steps you've taken to kind of scout these guys out and get your guys used to seeing this offense work?
Well, it'll be a big week in practice for those guys. The scout team will have to do a great job of simulating it as best they can. It's an assignment football week, and all the pressures and everything that we do of making sure you got always somebody on dive, you got somebody on cue, and somebody on the option or on the pitch, and because we pressure so much, we're in 3 down, we're in 4 down, we do so much. It's going to take a lot of discipline on our guys' part, but in the preparation part, our scout team, has to do a nice job of simulating that, and I think that's also something that we got to be ready for right out of the gate. Is in these scenarios, usually you don't simulate it to the same speed that you're going to see it in a game because it is a unique offense.
What was Connor's injury and how's he doing?
He's good. He's just got a foot injury, and we're still MRIing that thing and get a little bit more as we go throughout the week on exactly where we sit there.
Anyone else banged up? I mean, you talk a little bit about recovering this weekend. Everyone else doing okay? Or?
Yep.
Anybody surprise you in the game, how they played? Better than you thought?
Oh, you guys love to hear surprises. But it's
Who was the biggest disappointment in the game?
No. I hesitate to say surprises
Yeah.
because then it makes it sound like the kid hasn't done well in
Yeah.
training camp or in spring ball. Let's just talk about a few new kids.
Okay.
I told you Nick Vigil was going to play good. He did.
Yeah.
I mean, he made the opening tackle on the first kickoff of the game. You got a true freshman who kicks it 5 deep in the end zone at kicker, and redshirt freshman that runs down the field and tackles inside the 20-yard line. That's impressive to see right out of the gate. First game of the year. That's pretty cool to see. Brandon Swindle's a redshirt freshman, played a little bit last year, had 2 big touchdown catches. Thought he played well, made a couple tough catches too on some slant balls. Those guys played well. I thought all the receivers played well for that part. They caught contested balls. JoJo's got to learn to stay on his feet and extend balls after the catch, extend plays after the catch. And Travis Van Leeuwen came up big, but Travis Van Leeuwen done that all training camp too. So to say that was a surprise, no, to me. I thought, I don't know if there's any other surprises because a lot of those guys are veterans, and I expected them to play well. Defensively, it's not a surprise, but I thought Tay Glover played really well. I mean, that's his first full-time start at corner. The guy's a junior college quarterback. Okay? Last year he played nickel dime, receiver, quarterback. And now all of a sudden he's going to go play against a Pac-12 team on the edge. I thought he played really good. I mean, he played, 70-some snaps at corner, and thought he played well. So is that a surprise? No, but that's a kid starting his first game ever at corner. It's not like he grew up playing corner or played it in junior college or high school or any of that. Thought he played well. There's some guys that maybe haven't done it. I thought Jake came in and kicked well.
Did
Jake
the
Thompson.
injury to Connor, did it bother the defensive front, do you think, much in the game, Coach?
Bother us?
Yeah.
Well, I think there's the mere fact that he's one of our better D linemen and his presence not being there. I don't think it bothered us, but we missed him. There's no question we missed him. So he's an emotional leader. He's a very productive player. I thought our D-line played well, but, they stood up. It was next man up, and I thought those guys, first and goal on the one, and they thought they bowed up and they played well there at the end. So I thought they rallied around each other, but there's no question Connor's a leader on our D linemen, and he's an emotional leader. He's a good player. He's a very productive player. So yeah, we missed him.
Do you feel any different having your first game as a head coach under your belt? Is there anything that's changed for you? Or?
Now,
Yeah.
a change now.
Yeah.
I don't know how to answer that. Kind of maybe I know what it's like now, and I'm gonna tell you what, it was draining. Now I was drained. Usually you just stress out about one side of the ball. We were stressed out about 3 sides of the ball the entire game, and so I think that was the biggest thing. That at 11:30 I look up and it was completely a different feeling, physically and emotionally, for you there. But hopefully I'm a better coach game 2 than I was game 1, and at the end of the year than I am here in September, from whether it's the way you prepare your players or whether you handle them at halftime or what you say to them or calls you make during the game or decisions you make. So I got to get better too.
Offensive line grade well.
Yeah, they played well. Craig, I thought they protected Chucky. There's a few times we had a couple breakdowns, but sometimes you don't see that in the stat book because you got a guy back there that can't get hemmed up in a phone booth, and so it makes them look a little bit better sometimes. But I love those guys' leadership. Thought they played well, and I thought they stuck together well. You know, that's probably the thing maybe also that went unnoticed, but I'm sure that all you guys would be pointing it out to me today had it been a problem, and it's not a problem, so it's kind of like a deep snapper that if he's doing really good, you don't notice it, that's good, is that, you know, I thought from an offensive standpoint, and you walk into that atmosphere, we had no false starts, we had no ID problems from the quarterback and the center. You know, all the D-line movement and the crowd noise and all that, I was very impressed and proud of our young men. We had 3 last year at home and false starts, you know, and so you know, those are the administrative penalties that I talk about. We didn't have, and those things give you a chance to win. We had a chance to win. We didn't make enough plays at the end.
Jake called it a triple option they run. You called it earlier a double option.
Well, there's
Is it-
both.
I mean,
Yeah,
so
I mean the triple. I mean they run the triple. They run double option. They'll run counter option. They'll run G lead option, which forms a double option, which means it's just the quarterback and the pitch. Triple meaning the fullback's now an option. So they run all.
the quarterbacks didn't get carries, meaning that was closed off by Colgate, or that wasn't a choice they'd made to.
Yeah, I think that can be. Sometimes those are relative to the play calling towards the end of the game when they called some, you know, call it and run it's gives and stuff like that where you're not in the option game the entire game. So that maybe can be a little misleading, but I think the quarterback's a valuable part of that offense and a valuable runner.
Some of those defensive penalties, especially early in last week's game, is that something you have to spend a lot of time on, or is it just say, hey,
Nope.
don't hit guys?
Nope, there was 3 of them. Yeah, and you know, I can live with one. I can live with BJ's. BJ knows the rule. Our kids know the rule. That rule went into place last year. You get to chasing a guy, and you know, that's an aggressive penalty that we'll learn from. Our whole team will learn from. He just needs to shut it down. But you know, I didn't say 2 words to him when he came up. Reminded him he couldn't do it, and he said, "Yeah, I know," and went right back in the game. You know, Brian Sweets on the sideline it is what it is. I'm not going to go into that, you know. And the other one, we got to be smarter and be able to pull off. So.
One last thing, just general for the conference this week.
General conference?
I mean, no, I'm not talking about, that's in the end, 1st of October.
Yeah, I know when it is.
Okay.
BYU
You
weekend.
keep track of that.
Yes, sir.
That's okay.
Yes.
But in fairness to the league, I don't know if it was a great weekend for the Mountain West Conference. Would
Well-
you agree? I mean, I don't know, you know, you haven't played against any of these teams before.
No,
But
I mean,
what-
on
but-
paper, no, it wasn't a good week for the league. Doesn't taint my vision of the league. It's a stinking hard league, week in and week out, and every one of us will bounce back. So, you know, we started it off wrong Thursday night. So, you know, I don't think anything different of the league. But you're right, probably, you know, on paper is not a good weekend for the Mountain West. But we'll bounce back. There'll be a lot of teams in bowl games, and you know, you had a Mountain West team beat a BCS team also, you know, Thursday night. So I think it's still a strong league. This weekend doesn't change my impressions of the league.
So the Utah game, you know, it wasn't the greatest outing we've ever had, that's for sure. But we learned a lot, and you know, we'll come back and be stronger. As far as the defense is concerned, we had a couple breakdowns. A few penalties kind of hurt us. Still a little bitter about the loss, but we got to get ready to move on to Air Force.
When you went back and looked at the tape, what were some of the breakdowns, especially when they had the wide open middles?
Yeah. I mean, it's a whole defense kind of thing. We need to get more pressure. As far as the middle is concerned, we could the lower zones need to drop back a little further. We kind of have to have our heads more on a swivel, kind of seeing what's coming out at us, and break to the ball a little better.
So you could see all of that really good on film.
Mhm.
You really went back and learned some things that you've got to do better technique-wise from the film.
Yes, for sure. We need to. I mean, when you go back to film, you can really slow it down, and in the game you have just a couple seconds to make key reads, key decisions, but film really tells a different story, and you can really see what you should have done and what you should have seen.
Because you got the feeling that second quarter, you all of a sudden really got some things going defensively. The
Mhm.
pressure on them, they couldn't move the ball. Did they make adjustments at halftime to take you guys out of some of your pressures, do you think? Did you notice that, or could you feel that?
I felt as far as getting out of the pressures, not so much. I did feel the receivers did a great job of finding the open seams, finding where the weak spots in the defense were, and they took advantage of it for sure.
Do you feel like that game kind of gives you some pointers for facing some of the really good quarterbacks in the Mountain West later in the schedule?
Yeah, we definitely. I mean, we definitely need to get pressure. I mean, as you saw in that first few drives, when we gave him all day, and he just kind of throw wherever he needed to throw, make whatever read he needed to read. So a big point is we need to get pressure. Get a clock going in his head, make him kind of stressed out when he's sitting back there in the pocket, and then. As far as the back end is concerned, we need to make our covers a little better, and just kind of clean up the whole thing.
Looking ahead at Air Force, I mean, scouting them is probably different from any opponent you'll face this year. I mean, do you agree with that?
Yeah, they're a very disciplined team. As all the military academies are. They're a great option team. Air Force will be incredibly assignment football. They don't have the biggest guys or the fastest guys, but they will find the breakdowns wherever that may be, and you just have to do your job, your assignment, and that's kind of the key to handling their offense.
It was a little disappointing too in the fourth quarter when Utah did run the ball a little bit against you too. Started because up until then you kind of controlled. They'd had to throw to kind of move it. Was it disappointing how they started to kind of pound a little bit at you?
Yeah. I mean, it's always kind of a gut check. We try to take pride in our run defense, and how we don't want anyone kind of just running the ball on us. And as soon as that fourth quarter hit, I think it's what they went to, and it worked for them. So yeah, it was disappointing. It those first downs that they were getting from those runs, they weren't making any huge, immense plays, but it's demoralizing for sure. You're trying to get out and get the offense back on the ball, get the ball to the offense, and when they're just getting those first downs consistently, it's kind of it does hurt a little bit. So.
What were the keys to the goal line stand though? What was different there?
It's just gut checking time. We knew they were gonna try to pound it up in there. There's no reason to that whole drive. That's what they were doing. So we kind of had to bow up, and we needed some people to make key plays, just be sturdy in the front, and that's what we did, and it worked out.
Looking at Air Force a little bit, what do you see from the running backs? Hart and Lee both went over 100, couple touchdowns each last week.
Yeah, they are good. They are athletic. They have good vision, and they're tough. Everyone that goes to those military academies, they're tough guys. You can't just hit them and expect them to kind of wilt. They're gonna come back for more, and that's what it seemed like. They would run do a good play, and they'd come back for more, and that's kind of what it was.
So can you see a real technique how they do this with smaller guys to get edges or get creases or whatever with their running game? When you talk about assignment football, that's you've got to stay in your areas and things. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, they have that triple option, the pit or the dive, the quarterback, and the pitch. And I mean, it's you have to know you have to know who your man is. And what they do extremely well is their offensive line is, it's a little undersized. I think they're all about 260, 255. But that gives them more speed, so they can make those cutoff blocks that kind of just open a lane up, and they're great cut blockers. So they knock you down, and it kind of eliminates your assignment for that second, and all they need is that split second, and they're just gonna break one. Their type of football is it's consistent. They're not gonna have huge, immense, just 80-yard plays, but they're going to get 5 yards at a time and kind of just drive around the field. So, you got to set them up to where they're not comfortable. Second and long, third and long. They're kind of on a schedule, as I like to say, and they go first down, they get 4 yards. Second and 6. Second and 6 goes to third and 2, and they get a first down. That's kind of, they keep that pace going the entire time. So you gotta have to break that to have a real good chance against them.
How much do you have to account for the quarterback? This guy only carried 2 times.
Yeah,
The guy that finished the game and played most of the game.
Yeah, I felt that was. I mean, Colgate was doing a good job of kind of containing him. I felt like, the person that had that job, I felt like was doing it, and he found the openings for the running backs to go. He would hold it a split second longer. They'd think he was going to keep it, and he'd go ahead and give it real quick. So he's a threat. He's always going to be a threat. He can make whatever read he needs to do, and so you still got to contain him. It's their running backs that his good reading abilities really gives them their yardage.
That couple times they do pass,
Mhm.
is it harder to just kind of account for some of that action when you're playing run most of the game?
Yeah. You kind of get so used to filling your gap, doing your job, and they get a play action, and you're really getting up in it to stop the run, and they kind of just sneak a guy behind you, and that's how they get their big yardage plays, is they get those 20, 30-yard passes off. So, the safeties, the corners, they got to be back, ready for that to happen, and they got to have faith that the front seven, the linebackers, the D linemen are going to do their jobs and run. So it's everyone has to do their job. If someone doesn't, they're going to find that hole and capitalize on it.
Jake, I know the Utah game means a lot to you because you're a Utah guy,
Yeah.
but you guys in practice, I hear Mountain West being talked about even more. So this game, maybe in the grand scheme of things, is a little bit more important
Yeah.
than the Utah game. I don't know how you can put that in words.
Yeah.
But is that true?
That Utah one.
We'll
I'm
always-
gonna be honest, that one hurt pretty good. But yeah, our goal is, to compete for a Mountain West championship, and as you said, in the grand scheme of things, it's the Utah game won't really affect that much. It's the Mountain West play that's gonna that's the most important. We gotta really come to play on those games and show up when we need to show up. But the Utah game was it was a bummer, pretty good, but we gotta move on and keep our heads up and keep pushing forward.
What does it mean to you to be on the precipice of the first Mountain West game and to be entering this new conference?
It means a lot. Mountain West is a bigger conference, more competition. So I feel that we're kind of being seen as we're starting to step up. We're starting to move up the ranks of the college football team. So it's just a good way that we can go and prove ourselves and show the nation that we're here to compete, and we're here to do our best, and every week in and week out compete. Yeah.
Anything else for Jake?
Thank
That's anytime you lose to a big in-state rival like that, it's a tough loss, especially after beating them here last year. You want to go down there and beat them at their place, but they finished the game great. They played a tough game, and it's a great team. So you got to learn from it and come back and prepare for the rest of the season and our next opponent, which is Air Force. So I'm really looking forward to playing Air Force. It's a tough team. They looked really good against Colgate, especially in the second half. They opened up the run game, and in the second half, after Colgate had jumped up on them, they stopped the pass when they needed to and stopped the run when they needed to. So anytime you play them at their place, it's always tough. I'm excited to to have the opportunity to play them there.
You personally go over the century mark in the last game. Is it kind of hard to appreciate the game you had after a loss, or
Yeah, anytime you lose, regardless of your individual performance, it's tough because it's a team game, and it's all 11 of us on the field as an offense, all 11 as a defense, and everyone that's helped us get a look from the scout team. They did a great job giving us a look, and from a coaching standpoint, it's tough, when you lose. So, it's nice having individual accolades, but the most important thing is winning.
What do you see from the Air Force defense, especially the pass defense?
They have a really tough defense. They fly around to the ball. They're very disciplined. After Colgate had a really good start against them, I feel like they caught on to Colgate and shut down anything Colgate tried to do from the passing game and from the running game. So I think, we got to really execute against them, and I think then and try to jump out early on them because they like to control the clock too.
Our offense, though, is different than Colgate's, a little
Yeah.
bit, it looks like to me.
Definitely, it is. More of a spread run with some pass in there. So I think if we can, execute, like I said, like we need to against them, because no matter what, they're going to be game planning for us because they're going to watch tape on our Utah game. So, I think we need to go game plan for them, and if we can execute like we're supposed to, I think I feel pretty confident against their defense.
When did you know that the first play of the game was going to be a pass to you? Or did you know that before the game, or was that something at the line? Or because they always say they pre-script all these plays,
Yeah.
but did you?
To be honest with you, I didn't know until the ball was in the air. I was running my streak, which is a protect route for the play that was called, and Chucky did a good job of picking up those man coverage and taking a shot and believing in me. So it was a great throw by Chucky. I looked back, saw the ball, and just reacted and made a play on it.
what was it like being on the field, seeing some of Chucky's scrambles and getting out of some of those sacks?
Oh, he had a heck of a game, man. He's one tough kid, and he made some great throws out there. I can't believe some of the tackles he broke and got out of during the game, and it just shows how hard he's worked and how much of a leader he is, and he's going to have a great season for us.
What did you see out of Swindle? I mean, he had a great game.
Oh yeah, Swindle had an awesome game. He's a great counterpart to play with. He's big, tall, great routes, hands, and speed. And I think it's going to be a fun season this year because Swindle's going to have a huge part in our success this year, as well as a few of our other receivers like Travis Reynolds and Jojo Natson as well. So we have a lot of weapons at the receiver position, and I'm excited to see how our season turns out.
Travis, after the game, we talked to Brandon, and obviously the story of the game in a lot of people's minds was we didn't know about the wide. You'd heard enough about the wide receiver stuff during the off season and stuff. Your group really came to play. I mean, there might have been maybe one or two drops in the game, but you guys really caught most everything and did things.
Yeah, definitely. There was a lot of question marks about us going into the season, but I knew my guys in that room. We had a tough group of receivers, and we've been working all off season. We've been putting in a lot of extra work, and I felt like this is one of the best receiving corps Utah State's had as an all-around receiving corps because we have so many weapons, and it's just they can't take away just one or two guys, because we have 3 or 4 guys, that can make plays. So it's going to be a fun season playing with these guys.
Sort of in that second half after scoring that last touchdown drive, I mean, is there anything in particular you guys feel like you didn't execute or left out there?
Utah did a really good job defensively stepping up and shutting down what was working for us. I feel like, a few plays here and there, we could have made some plays that could have changed the game, but, they got a little bit of momentum going and they were able to get the ball at the end, keep our offense off the field, and as an offense at the end of the game, we weren't able to execute on a few third downs that would have been big, to keep the drive going. So we just have to, like I said, we learn from it and move on to Air Force.
Looking at Air Force, just as one thing, their 2 corners, I think, they started last year, and they're both like listed playing on the one side, and there's a new guy on the other side. Does that look like part of the better part of their team? They talk about their secondary of their corners, I think.
Yeah, they have really good corners. They're disciplined. They play assignment football, and they're not going to really give up anything deep, in my opinion. And they're really good in the run game, so we have to do a good job at blocking them. And really working our craft and technique against them. Because they're really good in their zones as well. So. I think this week is a big week on focusing on our game plan and technique against those guys, because they're going to be really good corners and tough corners to play against to open up Mountain West play.
You talk about their zones. Are they more of a zone?
The-
Because Utah wanted to play a little more man supposedly,
yeah,
right?
Utah came out and played a lot of man on us in the first half. As a matter of fact, they played.
Did they switch then?
They
Utah
did.
zone?
They switched it up a little bit in the second half. Played some zone and some man, but the first half I think they ran almost straight man the whole first half. So.
So an Air Force will be more zone.
Yeah, I think Air Force will be a lot more zone than Utah was, but maybe they saw something that Utah did that they like, and they might try something out. So, but I expect them to play a lot more zone than Utah did.
What's it like preparing for a conference game this early in the season?
It's kind of neat. Usually you're playing preseason, but it's kind of nice opening up conference play right now because, it's something to play for. That's, you play for that Mountain West championship, and we open up against a great opponent, and they're tough to play at their place. So it'll be fun to, go into that atmosphere knowing it's the first game of conference. It's going to be fun. So I'm excited.